That's what a sloppy joe looks like. That's it. This recipe is cookbook ready. I'm gonna make a country style sloppy joe with brisket, fried onions. It's gonna be sloppy, it's gonna be gooey, it's gonna be crunchy. This thing is gonna be insane. So I have 1 red bell pepper here and 1 yellow onion that I'm gonna dice up. I have a 2-pound brisket that I'm seasoning with my house seasoning. You know how that goes, guys. I got some paprika, some salt, some pepper, garlic powder, and onion powder. It's really important to get a nice sear on your meat to create this caramelization. The remnants that's left in the bottom of this Dutch oven is gonna create the layer of flavor that I need. All right, so I'm gonna sear my brisket for about 5 to 7 minutes on both sides. So while that goes, I'm all about texture. So the frizzled onions on top adds this layer of crunch that is surprising, yet very tasty. So what I'm gonna do is soak my red onions here that I've sliced fairly thin. I'm gonna put some buttermilk in there. And that buttermilk is gonna help the flour adhere to the onion. I'm going to add a cup of all-purpose flour to this pan, about 1 teaspoon, 2 teaspoons of salt. You know what? I need to check on my brisket. It might be ready to turn. Oh, yeah, it is. Look at that. Nice and charred, and it's okay if it's not burnt. All right, back to my dredge. Flour, salt. Now I'm gonna add some cracked black pepper. So I'm gonna take my red onion and just cover it with flour and make sure that it's nice and coated. I want a really crunchy onion. Let me check on this brisket. I smell it. This should be nice and seared on this side. Perfection. And it's okay to put it right back in this tray. So I'm gonna cook it off so there won't be any contaminants or anything in there. All right, so I'm gonna take my onions and pepper that I diced up, and now I'm gonna add my brisket back into the pot because I'm gonna put this in the oven and let it slow cook for about 3 hours. I'm gonna add 2 cups of beef broth and 1 bay leaf. I'm gonna cover this, and I have my oven preheated to 300 degrees. It's gonna cook low and slow because I need it to be extra tender. And when it comes out, I'm gonna add that barbecue sauce that I'm gonna make from scratch. I have a smaller Dutch oven here that I'm gonna get nice and hot. So I have a 14-ounce can of diced tomatoes. I'm gonna add about 2 cups of ketchup as well. Now, normally I freestyle when it comes to my sauces, but because you guys need to make it at home, I have to be really precise with the measurements because I want you all to taste exactly what I'm doing here. I've added in 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar, a 1/2 cup brown sugar. But I'm gonna add even more molasses on top of it because I just really love the flavor of molasses. About 1 tablespoon of garlic powder, 1 teaspoon of cayenne. I don't want it to be too hot. Now I'm gonna add 1 tablespoon of Dijon mustard. And the Dijon just adds a slight bit of tang. 2 heavy pinches of salt, and I'm gonna freshly crack some black pepper in there. So I'm gonna let this simmer for about 30 minutes uncovered. Then I'm gonna cover it and take it off the heat and let it chill out until my brisket is ready. But in the meantime, I gotta fry up some onions. All right, so my oil is preheated to 350 degrees. I'm gonna quickly fry these onions in vegetable oil. I think these onions add a little structure and a nice layer of crunch and oniony flavor to the sandwich. Now, if you don't have a red onion, you can use yellow onion too. You can even use a shallot. Just a few more seconds because they will brown fairly quickly. Yep, we're there. Onions have fried, they're golden brown, look at that. And while it's hot, I like to hit it with a little bit of my house seasoning. Baby, it's been 3 hours. My mouth is watering right now. See, it's starting to pull apart. Look at that. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So this is gonna be that sloppy joe. Look how soft and juicy this brisket has gotten in there. Oh, this is gonna be good. So I'm gonna add my barbecue sauce that I made from scratch. It's gonna give it that iconic tomatoey, sloppy joe flavor and look. So I'm gonna pop this back in the oven and let it cook for an additional 30 minutes. Now, I'm gonna make myself a sandwich. This should be illegal. Oh my God. That's what a sloppy joe looks like. This recipe is cookbook ready.